Hey,
Hey, we're live.
we are.
Well, we're live on tape.
We've been sitting here talking for at least an hour, and now I'm all talked out. I don't even feel like starting.
Kevin, we're gonna wrap this up and head
Good.
out. We're gonna go get some.
Let's get breakfast. So it's been such an incredibly busy week. There's so many things to talk about.
Verlander pitched last night.
Yes, he did. Let's actually look up and see what Verlander did.
Welcome back to the Motor City, Justin Verlander.
Yes, good to have
We're
him here.
excited to have him back. And
He married a Michigan girl.
there you go. So did Dak Shepard.
Yes, he did. Kristen Bell.
So did Mike Shanks.
Yeah, well, that's you. There you go.
Yeah.
I married an Ohio girl. She
You can be forgiven of
She's
many,
pretty.
many things.
All right, let's see. I'm looking up to see what he did last night. The 43-year-old.
Woo!
Yes. Made his first start of spring training for the Tigers. He has a 1-year, $13 million contract.
You think he'll retire after Detroit? You think he wanted to
Yes,
retire as a Tiger?
Absolutely.
And
I think that's the main reason. Looks like he gave up a home run that put the Red Sox ahead 2-0. He exited the game after 22 pitches, including 10 foul balls, and 1 out in the first inning.
okay,
Well,
so
welcome back.
I mean,
Welcome back.
yeah,
Rock.
jet lag. You know, you got to come all the way from Houston or not Houston. Yeah, Houston.
Houston. Yes.
So
Yes. Not the auspicious start we wanted, but that's all right. It's spring training. Who cares? Who cares? Just get warmed up. 43 years old. I did not realize he was 43.
no, neither did I.
So
And
when
we-
I was in Virginia, I had a young man who was a sales rep for me, and we're driving out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm getting to know him because he's brand new in the position. And we were talking, and he let it slip that he was the #1 prospect in baseball coming out of high school that year in the state of Virginia, which Virginia is a big baseball state. So I'm like, wow. He's like, yeah, I played on this all-star team. We went around. We played a lot of other states and stuff like that. It was a pretty big deal. A lot of national prospects and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, on your team, is there anybody else that I would know? He's like, well, yeah, I was the catcher, and I caught for Justin Verlander. I'm like, oh, my gosh, you caught for Justin Verlander? And he's like, yeah. And he wasn't impressed by it at all. And I'm like, so what was it like? And he's like, I don't know. He had a decent fastball. He had a mediocre changeup. He didn't really have the slider or, the curve that he has.
he wasn't the
now, all
Verlander that
junk.
we
No,
watched
No.
that gave up a home run and 2 runs last night.
And I'm like, wow, 22 pitches, 10
10
foul
of them
balls,
were foul.
1 out. That's all right.
It wasn't that Verlander. Well, maybe it was that Verlander. Full circle.
Back to high school. So I said, well, what was he like to hang out with? He's like, I don't know. He never hung out with us. We'd all go out drinking and chasing girls and everything like that. And he would drink a glass of milk and go to bed, and had a really good relationship with his mom. And he was making fun of it. I'm like, wait a minute. So he just signed a $120 million contract and is married to like the supermodel, and you sell paint with me.
You get to go out drinking, with me. I mean, there's a career. That's a pin in the map right there. Wait, Tom's coming?
No, that didn't soften the blow. I used it as a way to say, you have made some poor life choices. He has made all the right ones. You probably shouldn't make fun of him.
I remember when I came to start high school my sophomore year, and I'd played baseball at Whiteford and in the summer leagues, and I thought I could, hold my own. And I got to start, and they said, "Can you pitch?" And I said, "Well, I've pitched before, mostly." So, but Bill Body was on that team, who went on to play for the Cincinnati Reds and plays in the 50 and over league in Toledo on TV, the fast pitch senior league. And so I lasted on that team for about, I think, 4 days, but one of the days I think I was sick. So 3 actual days on the field. But the first time I dug in against starting pitcher, I don't remember who it was, but dug in against this guy, and the catcher said, "This guy throws hard, so just be up on your toes." And he threw a ball that was coming right at my head, and I bailed on it. I mean, and I bailed ugly. It was bat went one direction, I went the other. And as I laid on the ground, sprawled out, I looked up at the umpire who was behind, because we always had umpires at batting practice. And the umpire looked at me with the saddest face, and he went, "That was a strike." And I mean, it was 3 feet off the plate when it came off of his hand and came right through the strike zone. And so I knew right then my career, I wasn't even qualified to carry their gear out to the bus. So I think that's when I decided I was heading in a different direction athletically.
And still better than my baseball career. That is still... You had a moment in grade school where you thought you were good enough to play in high school. I never had that moment. So apparently we had to stick to wrestling.
Yeah. Well,
Last last story, and we should get started. But I'll say this: I was told that I had never shared the day that I had my big coming out discussion with mom and dad, and so I stop in it. Yeah,
Wait,
I meant to say it this
wait,
way.
wait.
Hang on,
We're going down a different path.
hang on. Let me tell the story.
I've never heard this story, but it's okay.
You anyway.
That's right.
So
You're in the wrong party. But
we've got a
oh,
couple.
God, let's.
So we grew up, Mike and I did, in a family that's very close. And my mom and dad, voracious readers. Our mom and dad, I should say.
Yeah,
Voracious
they're mine too.
readers, and they're very politically oriented. They love political discussion and debate and stuff like that. And we were raised in a very democratic family, big Irish family, Toledo, Ohio. My dad had a big affiliation with the unions and all that stuff. So we were born into a Democratic bastion, and we were all Democrats growing up. And I remembered I teared up when Carter lost to Ronald Reagan. I thought we were just all going to go to war, and this was a huge mistake. The nation had failed us. I went to Blessed Sacrament
So we have
Grade
that.
School in Toledo.
We share that emotion.
I went to grade school in Toledo, Ohio, and in our class, it was almost universal. We all voted for Jimmy Carter, and the fifth grade class had picked like the last 15 winners. So I thought it was done. I thought for sure Jimmy Carter was winning, and I was devastated that he lost the election. And then I started listening to Ronald Reagan, and I'm like, this guy's got ideas. He makes points. I started realizing I agreed with almost everything he said. And there was a day that I came home and I walked in, and my mom's on the couch. My dad's in his chair, like he always is. He's reading the paper, and I grabbed one of the chairs from around the table, and I sat it down right in front of them, and I sat down. And I said, Mom, Dad, I have something I have to tell you. And Dad puts his paper down, which is not a normal thing for him to do.
Yeah.
He almost never does.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And I said, I think I'm a Republican. And my dad, without missing a beat, looking straight into my eyes, goes, I would rather you said that you were coming out gay. My mom roared laughing. I thought it was super funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the day. And that day actually started out with what would go on to be kind of a daily activity where we would sit around the table and we would talk politics, never argue politics, but we would have spirited discussions about politics and what it all meant. And I think that really forged my political beliefs, and probably explains a lot.
Having somebody to bounce political ideas off of and get some pushback from your father on ideas and ideology. And I think I shared, Dad used to be the union steward at Mather Metals, was a United Steelworker union member. And of course, I came up through the IBEW and was a local 8 member for 30 years. So we shared that. So I think we found a little more readily common ground early on anyway. So, but he was a fun political antagonist. Like he had a way of, like, you would come out with some sort of a statement politically, and then he would challenge you on it just hard enough where you had to really hone your skills and make sure that you were coming into the conversation prepared to defend your position. And it didn't matter if it was the same position he had. He had a way of, even if he agreed with you, he had a way of kind of taking that 45-degree view of something and say, well, why do you think why do you think it's that way? Or what would you do differently to make that change? Now, sometimes he said it through gritted teeth, depending on how personal it got. But business-wise, he had a definite opinion on how businesses should be run. And
absolutely. And was very successful doing that.
Yeah. He was a fun argument.
Yes.
Miss that.
Always. Yeah, me too. I miss it all the time. I still have dreams of Dad. He still shows up, and he's always still doing the one thing that he did best, which is giving unbelievably good advice and challenging you the same way. As I had a major decision to make in my life, I would bring it to him, and we would just have a discussion, and he would do the same thing, ask you questions, kind of lead you to the right decision. And so it was your decision, and it was something that you came up with, but he led you. I mean, at the end, I think he
knew where the conversation was going to end because he was in control of it.
Yeah, he was.
Even if you thought you were.
You were still playing with the pawns. He was moving the king around.
Yeah. Oh, you're still playing checkers? I'll give you a minute. So my career choices over the years, and I've had, we've moved a lot, and Paula will tell you,
really,
two times.
I heard you bought a car and you made a move with work.
Bought a car. Dad and I bought and sold the same truck to each other.
I
think four
at
least
times.
4 times. Yeah.
And then I broke it.
Same. Well, I mean,
all I did was turn the key, and it just would not stop going. So it just never actually started. Kept cranking. It was Dad came
Oh,
out and started yelling. I'm like, Dad, I turned the key. I don't know what he did wrong. All
your
of a
brother
sudden.
never broke the truck.
Exactly. I think he might have said exactly those words.
Well, so moving around a lot and changing careers and the indecision, I think a lot of that, if I self-reflect a little bit, is those were always times when I would go to Dad and say, "What advice do you have? What do you think I should do?" And without that hole in the sand as your steadying guide post, I think it's led to me being a little indecisive and I wouldn't change any of the decisions. Our time in Florida was awesome. Each job came with different challenges. And I left every job with a little more knowledge about how to handle people and manage people. And then ultimately made the decision that that's not really what I want to do. I don't want to be in a leadership role. So the position I'm in right now, nobody reports to me. I'm not responsible for anybody. I go to work every day and fix things. And at the end of the day, I'm responsible for myself. And I think, it doesn't pay like the management superintendent or manager roles paid, but certainly it pays dividends in other ways where you're not carrying work home at 3:30 when the day is over with. I throw my tools in the truck and go home. So
Work-life balance
yeah,
means a lot.
it does.
Yeah, without question.
But all that to say, not having Dad around to kind of fill in those gaps and with his wisdom, yeah, just I miss that about him.
Me too.
So
There's so many things I miss about him. So
all right.
yeah. So why don't we start off talking a little bit about the State of the Union?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you know what? When the week started this week, I thought, oh my gosh, I can't wait till we get together and talk about the record-setting State of the Union address.
Record-setting, not just because it's the longest, but one of the most positive. Okay, it was a little combative, a little bit. So, what were your key takeaways from the speech? What did you see as the?
This is all you, Tom. I didn't watch it. There was no.
Wait,
It was
you
an
didn't
hour
watch it?
and 47 minutes long. He broke the record for the longest State of the Union held by him. So now he has the two longest. So if you're looking for long and a lot of words,
He had a lot of fun with it. I think he was really looking forward to it. I think that when you see what he was trying to accomplish, he definitely accomplished his goals. He was able to tout the economic record that he had created. When you look at affordability, that's going to be a big topic come midterm. So
have you filled your gas tank this week?
I have. It's still lower than it was during the Biden administration. So it's a little higher. I think it's 20 cents higher, 20 cents a gallon.
It's 40 cents a gallon more than what it was before we started dropping bombs on Iran. I know. I probably got my information from a liberal news media outlet like Google or something. But the fact is, my truck is a 35-gallon tank, and when I fill it up, it is $40 more to fill it up now.
It's still cheaper than what it was in the Biden administration, where the average was over $4 a gallon. I think it's barely over $3 now. So it's still way cheaper than what it was. So again, looking at affordability, we're still far better. And this is a temporary thing. It's always the market's going to react because of what's going on. This is not going to be a long drawn out, even like Iraq or Afghanistan was. I think we have a very.
How do you know that?
I don't know that. This is what I believe.
How does he know that?
I don't think you 100% can completely predict exactly how long it's going to be, but I know he knows his plan. He knows what his generals want to do.
I think the word temporary is a convenient word for the unknown. I think it's dangerous to say that, yeah, you're going to have to pay more for gas and more for supplies and more for everything, but it's only going to be temporary. I think if you're going to use that as a talking point, we need to be careful about timelines and.
Well, when you look at what's going on with the ground incursion by the Kurds and the Iraqis, I don't think it's going to be necessary for the United States to have ground troops. I'm really hoping that's not the case.
Well, we just stopped military operations and the thought is the conventional wisdom is that they're preparing to send them over to deploy.
But here's the thing about that.
China and Russia are backing Iran with funding, and so if you think
it's intelligence that they're mostly giving them, they're not committing troops and weapons, at least at this time. We'll see how that goes. At the end of this day, I believe that the mere threat of ground is going to get us closer to what is really needed, and that is regime change in Iran.
Well, we are in the business of regime change. So I mean that we should have the shirts made up that we are champions of. we don't like how you run your country, so we're going to. I mean, really, what we should do is set up envoys and prepare teams to go over to start running these countries in replacement of the existing regime, so that there's. No, I'm not. I mean, I'm being facetious, but obviously, there needs to be a step behind that plan for, okay, so we bomb the compound and take out the top 20 officials. What's the, because they're going to replace him with somebody in kind, the son of, the nephew of, the uncle of,
And right
who's
now,
probably been pining for that job for generations
it's
and is
his
looking
son.
to make a mark as the leader of that country. And how do you do that? Well, you shoot missiles towards Riyadh or towards Egypt or towards some other country that is perceived as a threat to you, because they're not going to shoot them yet across the ocean. So they're going to take out people in that region, making that region more unstable than what it was before we stuck our finger in
And
there.
I'm gonna disagree with you on that point, and for a couple key reasons. But before we get to that, let's talk about the speech, and we'll bring that to a close because I think that that needs to be a kind of its separate a separate segment. So I think he made the case for Iran. I think he talked about all the stuff that he wanted to pertaining to that. And actually, when he said that we can never let Iran achieve a nuclear bomb, that was one of those rare times at the State of the Union where everybody clapped. All the Democrats clapped. So everybody clapped. And so I think that that was a good unifying thing. He was definitely setting the case for what happened, later that week when that following weekend when the bombs started falling. So that was one of the things he wanted to accomplish. Two, I think he was able to tout, where the stock market has gone to. Now, it was a rough week for the stock market. I know. Me personally, I got
It's
pummeled a little
temporary.
bit, but that is temporary. The market will always adjust, and then it's going to come back up. So, but the stock market has done extremely well. The economy, the number of jobs, all that stuff, he was able to tout. So he touted a lot of his economics, which I thought he made a very good case. When you look at affordability, I mean, compared to what was going on in the last administration, the inflation rates were much more in line into that 2%, 2.5%, which is good. You need to have a little bit of an increase every year. It's good for the dollar. It's good for the economy overall, and that is where that's that sweet spot that we're really looking for, as opposed to these double digits gains we were having during the last administration, and a lot of it came on the backs of energy because there were so many restrictions going on in the energy as far as drilling and oil exploration and all the stuff that they were doing, making it so expensive and so difficult to pump oil. So I think that drill baby drill kind of came out during that. He talked about the energy and how that was going to drive down a lot of the overall cost and inflation. Uh,
Well, definitely removing any of the restrictions on emissions and how it affects the environment is going to make it more profitable to produce oil.
I don't think they were all eliminated or anything like that, but the accords, the Paris Accords and stuff like that, which penalize first world countries at the expense of a country like China, which has no restrictions and just dumps and burns and does all the stuff that they do, and they're able to produce everything and do it very cheaply, and we can't. And how are we to compete with a country like that? It was putting us in a very difficult economic circumstance. So honestly, I think some deregulation was necessary. I think pulling back some of those environmental concerns, it was probably the right thing to do overall for the U.S., for our economy, and for our national security.
But not for the earth. I mean, all I'm going to say on this is you have to sacrifice something in order to give on the other side. So if you're going to give the oil producers and the refinery, and I have some background in that, in order to give them the ability to refine oil and produce at the same rate as some of these other countries, we're going to have to emit more pollutants into the air and into the groundwater and into our streams. And I'm just saying, you have to be okay with the fact that there's no such thing. There is no such thing as clean oil. It does not
Okay, so let's
exist.
talk about the amount of oil that is necessary to operate and manufacture and maintain a wind farm. So let's look at the amount of oil that's needed in order to create the number of cubic feet of concrete that is necessary just for the base of one of those gigantic steel towers that becomes a wind farm. How much oil is needed to lubricate that thing in an average year? The carbon footprint that you get from one of those wind towers, it will never ever be able to replace the amount of oil, its carbon footprint in the lifespan of one of those towers, which is what, 25 years of producing energy? It will never be able to replace the amount of fossil fuels that it took to manufacture it, to transport it, to
I know.
assemble it.
We've
All
all
the
watched
same
Land, man. We know the numbers. That was a great
It was one of
scene.
the
I
best
understand
scenes.
it.
It's one of the best scenes in television history. It is nothing.
Oh, well, I
In,
mean,
in a couple minutes, he completely changed the debate, because then you go through and you look it up, and he's right. It's crazy.
well, I don't think the speech was pure theatrics. Certainly, it was a political commentary and meant to make a statement about the oil business as a whole. I mean, it's Landman. It's all about what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
But I think
My
that
customers in Houston love that show.
I'm anybody, once you cross the state of Texas state line, I'm sure you're going to find a bunch of fans. So
They do
just
love it.
like Wyoming had a bunch of fans of Yellowstone
Yes.
and Montana and Bozeman, it's a cultural commentary on how life is in those states.
But if you look at it, if you look at the math on that, then you're not talking clean energy there. There's no such thing as clean alternative energy when it takes that much fossil fuels in order to make that work. So,
But I think the technology, the learning curve has to start on that side of the spectrum. We have to learn how to be better caretakers of the environment,
so
or
find a clean way to make that and make it efficient and get that done, and then let's institute that.
yeah, but
I
all
don't
the
think
funding for that goes away when you make the decision that we're gonna drill, baby, drill. What he's saying is the money that goes towards battery production and EV technology and expanding the grid and micro substations in neighborhoods that run on alternative fuel sources. All of the research that went into that goes away because it's being redirected towards the oil
But
platform.
they pay for their own. The people that are investing in exploration and drill baby drill, those are the oil companies. All that comes out of their pocket. They're the ones that are fronting all that money. There's no research dollars that we're diverting away from that in order to invest in alternative fuels. That the private sector should be doing that. And if you can make it viable, if you can make it work, China's done a very good job with their batteries. Now, when you look at the rare earth metals that it takes to make those, when you look at the environmental impact of all of that stuff and the amount of energy you have to produce, which in China is all coal, they're burning Australian coal to power their grid in order to charge those batteries in order to make their EV cars go. So is that clean? No, most certainly not. It's horrible for the environment what they're doing to produce, but they've made unbelievable gains in EV technology, and their batteries last longer, and you can just change those things out and make it simple. They've innovated. There's no doubt about it. It's still not clean. So again, I don't. What is the impact of drill baby drill? Well, financially, I think it's huge for us.
Didn't where do we just find rare earth metals?
There's one in what, North Carolina, Pennsylvania,
No,
West Virginia.
foreign. It would have been a foreign
Oh,
entity.
Japan. Japan had a huge find. Well, Greenland, there's a ton on somewhere under that ice. We're assuming. I
Wait,
think.
Greenland? Huh. That's weird.
Which is now our 52nd state. If Canada becomes our 51st, then Greenland would be the 52nd state.
Sure. Well, we're doing it to protect the people, though, right?
Of course. The
From
people of Denmark.
Yeah. Well, those Denmarkians. Venezuela. Is there any rare earth metals in Venezuela?
I bet we'll find some.
Oh,
Mountains.
I'll bet somebody already did.
Okay. So he made the economic impact in the speech, and then he moved on to border security. Which his claim was that the border is the safest it's ever been. I think that was his overall claim. Not, again, I don't know. In the history of our country, I don't know how many people were trying to get in the 1770s.
Of all time. It's the safest it's ever been since Vikings came across on the ice.
Were those Vikings
Dressed in gold? Probably.
That was not going to be my question.
Oh.
Were they documented? Were they vetted? Did we vet those Vikings?
Well, and that's what, if you have to say Trump is very good at something, it's if you aren't afraid of something, we will find you something to be afraid of, and then we'll assign ownership of it, and then we'll make you afraid of it.
Okay, the Democrats don't do that at all.
We're not talking about Biden has been out of office for a year and a half. Let it go. We're cutting a new path. This is a new president.
You're right.
We're forward looking country now. So So Biden and Obama are behind us. They're in the past. And now after a year and a half, it's time to put that away
All right.
and find a new villain.
So border security.
Oh, that's the hot button. Make you afraid of people that look different than you, and then assign blame to it to make you afraid of it. And then I can direct your vote. And that's what he's good at. I'm saying he is a master at not much, but that.
All right. So let's look at border security. The United States people.
Or election
And
fraud.
we saw, well, let's get to the election fraud, because I think that's an important one, because that's actually on the list too, because you'll see the Americans First. It's the next thing up.
Oh,
which was a pretty big deal. As far as making sure, oh no, what did I change? Sorry. There we go. So when you look at border security, when you look at the cost of illegal aliens in this country, and again, I'm not trying to denigrate anybody. I'm not looking at any certain type of people or where they come from or anything like that, because I don't think that's the right thing to do. As a Christian, I want to love all people of the world. I do. Don't laugh.
I'm not laughing.
That's true. I do. I love everybody. I love everybody across the board. I don't have favorites when it comes to loving, because Jesus loves everybody. God loves everybody. So, but when you look at the cost to our country, there is a huge cost for illegal immigration coming in, or for education, for food, for governmental services, for all those things. It's a lot of money. And I think the point that Trump was trying to make during his speech is we should be about our citizens first. And after that, then we can look to see what we can do for illegal immigrants. We're not taking care of our veterans, but we're taking all this money and we're putting it towards illegal immigrants. And why? Why are we doing that? Are we doing that because a Democratic president wants to make sure that there's enough illegal immigrants coming in, giving them all the government programs they can, so they can make sure they're assuring that they have future votes in certain states to make sure that they can still win national elections moving forward? And if that's the goal, then state that goal. But it sounds like, it looks to me like that's what the Democrats are trying to do. And because of that, you're willing to overlook anything else, any problems arise that arise because of it, whether it be crime increases, whether it be attacks on women, whether no matter what it is, all of it, it's okay and it's overlooked. And you're racist if you say anything against all of these things that come in when you don't vet people, when you don't have people come through the borders properly, when you don't take the best and brightest first, and you just let everybody in unvetted. You're going to create all kinds of problems. And I think we're being foolish if we don't, if we have immigration policies and always have for a reason, because we're a sovereign nation and we have borders for a reason, because not everybody should be allowed in. We need to vet people. We need to make sure we're adding to our society and not detracting from it. And it shouldn't bankrupt a state like California. It shouldn't bankrupt a state like New Mexico or Texas when you have to take care of all these people that came in that are now part of your society.
Well, so the illegal immigrants voting, the pushback I have on that is there's a report from the Heritage Foundation, who's the sponsor of the Project 2025, but their own website did a survey on voting and how many illegal people voted up until 2024. I think the research started in in the 90s. And of the billions of votes, it knocked out the number of people that were illegal immigrants actually voted and was proven out was, and this is not an exaggeration, and I knew I was going to get that face. So I would encourage anybody who's listening to this to check out the Heritage Foundation website. It was a survey done on voting fraud, and certainly you can prove out the numbers faster than I can. But I read the article, and they said 2 billion votes overall total in this time frame, and then they winnowed it down by number of legal immigrants that voted, but the actual fraud cases that were proven out were minuscule. It was a percentage point, not enough to even sway a vote. So, and again, this might be a good place to hit the pause button, and we can look up this research and come back to this.
I think that's a good idea, because that sounds really low. I've seen a lot of numbers. I've never seen 10. I've seen tens of thousands in certain regions of the United States, like in Minneapolis, where there is a large Somali community that have taken part in voting. And I mean, from the research that I've seen, there were far more than 10 just in that city. It was many more. It was in the thousands. So we'll have to definitely do more
All
research.
right,
But
we'll take
okay.
a break.
Well, to finish out just the talk that we have today on the Trump's State of the Union address 2026, I have to say it was one of the more entertaining ones when it pertained to certain Democrats yelling and screaming their way through. You know, you had one member of Congress that was again removed. What's his name from Texas? He's in a very hotly contested seat. He might lose his primary and lose his seat. I can't think of his name right now. Yeah, Green. Green. That's exactly right. Representative Green was stood up and would not stop screaming and wouldn't sit down, and so he was removed again. And then you had Talib and Ilmar Ohan once again just kind of yelling their way through certain sections. They were told not to. The Democratic Party wanted to make sure that they didn't give him what he wanted, which was this contention and everything like that. But they just couldn't help themselves. They had the pins on that had the obscenity and then Trump. So those were wonderful pins. I don't know why the F word all of a sudden is such a big Democratic talking point. Why they're using that the F word so much, but they seem to be. But I thought it was interesting what they chose to stand for and applaud for, and what they chose to sit on their hands on. Again, it was very interesting. I think that when you look at the divisiveness that kind of was created by the State of the Union, it made it kind of fun to watch. Did you catch any of the replays or any of the reactions?
No, but no.
Well, say it. You have something you want to say about it.
Well, entertaining is important in a State of the Union address. So if it was, they should just broadcast it on the e network.
How do you think the Democratic Party should handle the State of the Union address?
Well, I think it's silly to set a bar for decorum. I mean, that was Speaker Johnson's contention, is that the Democrats don't have any decorum. Well, I think decorum as a principle, as a noun, like everything. I mean, I think it's lost its value. There is no decorum in politics any longer. There are no rules. That's all been laid bare. It's scorched earth. We're going to have to start all over again as far as how we should run our government. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So to stand on one side and point at the other side and say, you guys didn't behave, is,
Taylor
I don't
Green,
want to say laughable, but it's
predictable.
preposterous. It's asinine to say that was the first State of the Union that we've ever had.
No, Taylor Green yelled at what was it, Obama or was it Biden? I think it was Obama
It
that
was
she was
Biden.
yelling. Was it Biden?
Mhm.
Okay, I knew it was one or the other. So I knew she was yelling. I hope that she doesn't represent the Republican Party in any way, shape, or form, because um, she's not very well liked within the Republican Party either. So
Well,
right,
she's not liked by an element of the Republican Party. Is
that's
that what
fair.
you're saying?
That's fair.
Okay. So yeah, I think if you're asking me my opinion of
I am.
then I think it's weird that the Attorney General would be in a political ad for the president's State of the Union address when that's supposed to be a separate and equal triune form of government that we have. That the Attorney General would be in an ad promoting the president is um I don't even know how to frame it. Unique. I don't know that Supreme Court justices should be in favor or touting or endorsing. I don't think that's their role in this government. I don't think the founding fathers thought that we should be.
So you don't think they should show up?
No, they should. Oh,
Okay.
absolutely, they should show up.
But
I'm
they
talking.
weren't endorsing. As a matter of fact, the previous day they knocked down one of his primary things, which is the tariffs. They had struck down his basis for the tariffs that he had put in place. So the Supreme Court, he kind of ripped them a new one during much of his speech. He was specifically going against the Supreme Court during this. So I didn't see them as cheerleaders in any way, shape, or form. And at certain points when he was talking about his tariffs and what he was calling the unfortunate decisions of the Supreme Court, they were getting some applause. So I think mostly from the Democratic side, but it didn't seem like it was a rah-rah thing for the Supreme Court justices by any stretch. But
During the State of the Union.
no, not during the
I'm,
State of
I'm
the
talking
Union.
about it
In general.
in the build up. Uh, Pam Bondi coming out and endorsing and promoting and is I mean, she's America's lawyer, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
Her job,
like every other attorney general has not been partisan at all. You look at Bobby Kennedy for John F. Kennedy. My gosh, he was absolutely his whipping boy. I mean, he
I think
used
if
him he used him like a big stick. Ask the mob about that. I mean, I think that's the history. He is an appointed person. He or she is the appointed person for that administration as attorney general. I mean, that is it's a political appointment.
but it's not for the administration, the attorney
It
general's
shouldn't be.
position.
It shouldn't be. It
Well,
should
if we use history as our mixing bowl, then we can bring everything
justify
to null. I
everything.
mean,
That's fair. That's fair, Mike. I'll take that point.
but I suppose that the difference is now they're saying the quiet parts out loud. They're just blatantly saying, no, it's one, and we all work for the one. The judicial and the
Legislative.
legislative and the executive branch are all part. They all drive in the same car, and we're supposed to be okay with that. And
No,
but
checks and
because
balances.
some of that stuff has happened in the past, means that it's okay to do it now is a shitty argument for, or a crappy argument for what we're doing.
But
Sorry,
but
I'm sorry.
but you have to say, as far as the Supreme Court, they did vote against Trump this week. I mean, that week of that State of the Union
Okay, so they
won.
won.
All right. So there's checks and balances. So overall, as you look at the State of
There's
the Union, positive, negative, I thought it was a great speech. I enjoyed it. It sure looked like he was having a lot of fun. He got to honor the U.S. Olympic hockey team. He got to honor some great American heroes. The Democrats applauded for a few of them, didn't applaud for a lot. I thought Trump came out with a great ad the next day, basically showing the Democrats not. It didn't even look like they were awake during a lot of the things that he was saying. It looked like they were literally sleeping. But
Oh,
it was a very
have they
effective.
been to?
Fair enough. So overall, good speech.
Well, I mean, overall, it was a speech. I mean,
It was a speech.
after an hour and 47 minutes, everybody should have been able to find something in there that they would identify with and hang on to, and load a couple chambers in the weapon over, and it would be, you could have something to stand on. If that's what you're looking for in your State of the Union, it probably checked all the boxes.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very effective speech.
Not there to sink your teeth into.
So, Mike, I want to thank you. I enjoyed this conversation immensely. I had a lot of fun with it. I think it was an interesting one. I thought the topic was good. I'm looking forward to our next episode as we talk about the military incursion into Iran.
So we're not calling it a war.
Air war. I guess air war. We can call it that. It's a military exercise, a military activity. So we'll talk about that next time.
All right.
And then we have all kinds of stuff to talk about with the NFL and college football. So we'll head on those topics in the next episode too.
All right.
All right.